Hi there. My video on Gnosticism and the worship of the demiurges has created the most interest and the most number of comments, um, and even some that are vaguely hostile, including a recent one accusing me of being a fake Gnostic. I, I'm always quite amused by this categorization of fake and authentic. In the 1980s, you were a fake pagan, a fake Northern tradition person because you didn't sacrifice animals and wear leather and go around pulling your girlfriend by a hair. You were a fake Wiccan if you were a gay man, because how can gay men worship the fertility of the land? And then on the other side, you got fake feminists, so-called, and fake environmentalists, and even fake vegans. Um, so, one is used to everything is fake and authentic from your point of view, if you believe that your point of view is the only authentic one that is valid, and everybody else is fake, obviously. So, from Islam's point of view, Islam is the only true and authentic religion in the world, and everything else is fake. From the point of view of Roman Catholicism, it's the authentic Christianity, and everybody else is fake Christianity, and so it goes on. So one doesn't take any notice of these categories, fake and authentic. It's laughable, really. But having let the genie out of the bottle, I thought I'd just, by the way, cover this issue of fake and authentic anything. Um, I think we've all moved beyond that because religion is such a spectrum of beliefs, norms, values, and convictions. Being a spectrum, it embraces all points of view and all. There must be relativism. You can't have an absolute idea of the authentic or the true, unless, of course, you're sort of some kind of fundamentalist. So I presume that there are fundamentalist Gnostics around as well as fundamentalist Wiccans and pagans and Northern tradition people, and so on and so forth. Um, be that as it may, the comment did actually inspire me to come up with something really quite amazing about Gnosticism. And that was it's Gnosticism and deism, which is the only kind of label I can come up with, which is probably highly inaccurate. Anyway, to explain this, first of all, you have this planet, you have the Earth, all right, and this is the Earth 4,000 million years ago, and life becomes possible on Earth, and life is generated on Earth. And 4,000 million years later, you have the peak of evolution, which is Homo sapiens sapiens, or genus man. Um, and so, but before you have this evolution beginning, either in another dimension or in this dimension or in some kind of sort of interdimension, you have the demiurge and the demons, and you have God and the angels, and the goodies and the baddies, as one might say, and they have a big scrap, a big fight. And through their adversarial nature and through the adversarial activity, through the combat between these two warring forces, you have the creation of three things. You have the creation of life on Earth as it begins 4,000 million years ago. You have the creation of Homo sapiens sapiens, and then within Homo sapiens sapiens, you have the creation of people who become aware of a truth, of a gnosis, of a Gnostic truth. And that is that man, humankind, is God. And immediately you're going to say to me, well, define God. and I will define God for you, according to this paradigm anyway. God is any being, supernatural or natural, that is perfectly adapted to and perfectly able to manipulate the environment in which the species or the being finds itself or themselves. And so we already have examples of life on Earth where a species is perfectly adapted to its environment and perfectly adaptable and perfectly able to manipulate the environment in which it finds itself. The most primitive life on Earth, of course, being viruses, which are very simple organisms, but which are perfectly adapted to their environment and perfectly able to withstand all attacks on the species, and mutate and generate new adapted species of virus as they go. So you could say that viruses are actually an example of God, the creation of God. And indeed, they are semi-gods or demigods created by the adversarial action of God and the angels and the demiurge and the demons. And so they are, but of course, what they don't have is consciousness of the fact that they are God. Um, and it's that consciousness which you need. So whether you get in man, you get a couple of things, a couple of characteristics. One is that man is very, very, very good at manipulating the environment around it, and also adapting to the environment, adapt or die kind of thing. And the other thing, of course, is the idea that we are God, which follows a sort of Descartes' trademark one argument, where the existence of God is put into the consciousness of man. And this means that basically we know that we have come from the gods. We know that we have come from the great cosmic war between the gods, between God and the angels and the demons and the devil or the demiurge on the other side. And not only that, but we also know that we are divinely seeded, as it were. We are stuff of stars, but we are also stuff of divine beings. And eventually, we are God in the sense that we have this consciousness that we are God. So we're God in actual, and we're also God in potential, in that we are evolving towards a perfect ability to perfectly adapt to our environment and to perfectly manipulate our environment. And eventually, of course, through evolution, through pain and struggle, and overcoming challenge, which is how we grow psychically and mentally and physically. By overcoming all these challenges, we will overcome scarcity. And when we do that, we will become God, literally, because we will not be bound by a fear of scarcity, and a fury over this, and a forlornness and a sense of futility, and all the self-destructive elements that arise in our psyche from scarcity and from the perception of scarcity. So not only will we be able to adapt our perception perfectly, but we will also be in actuality able to adapt our bodies, minds, and spirit to the environment. And man will overcome, as they say, the five blind elements. So you've got, ether, you've got fire, air, earth, and water. And when man has triumphed over these five elements, which is indeed what magic is a metaphor for. When we have triumphed over the elements through science and technology, research and development, and the application of the empirical method, when we have overcome scarcity, and we can actually transfer. Well, we can um, we can make matter into energy and energy into matter. And I mean, obviously, when we can do that, when you have an infinite supply of energy through fusion reactors, and you're able to turn this energy into any matter you want, there will be no more scarcity. Um, Oh, so we're heading into science fiction. We're heading into Star Trek technology here, where they can generate food just simply from energy, for example. And that energy is provided by a fusion reactor or a dilithium reactor, I suppose, which is an inexhaustible source of energy. So we don't have any scarcity, so we don't have any economy, so we don't have any struggle. We are God. We have become gods. And as Captain Picard says, and we are free to develop ourselves without worrying about the basics of life. And we have enough to eat, and we have somewhere to live, and we have people to live with. And so we don't have any struggle for money, and we don't have to worry about scarcity in any form whatsoever. So we don't get jealous of each other, and we everything changes basically, and human mentality changes. And instead of having this tendency towards self-destructiveness and the destruction of others and our environment, we don't we recycle perfectly. We manipulate the environment perfectly. We have basically we seize the reins of our own destiny, as it were, and we become God according to the definition of God as being a being who perfectly is in charge of its destiny. And God is man. We are becoming. Obviously, we're not there yet, and I do want to cover this, I suppose, in more detail in a video called "The Futurist Religion," which basically makes sort of codifies all this into a religion, into a belief system. But I mean, it's a belief system backed by science. It's a belief system backed by an appreciation of evolution and our place in evolution. That we are also connected to beings who are already very, very advanced in terms of adaptation and evolution, such as viruses, and we have to get along with these other beings if we are to survive, and indeed use their adversarial energy to our own advantage. And of course, the world, as it has evolved through the adversarial algorithm, as one might call it, and the adversarial nature of the universe is implicit in evolution. And that's very important to bear in mind because but because of our we have a destiny to fulfill according to this paradigm, and not only that, but also the deities, angels, demons, demiurge, God, they are no longer around. This is a deist paradigm in which they basically gone off. They're no longer with us. We are on our own. We have our own decisions to make. We can't call upon anybody else externally to us in any sort of psychic way in order to forge our own destiny. We adapt or die. We live and prosper as we live and prosper through the decision for our own decisions on our own decision making, both on a community level and on an individual level. So there is no God basically. We are God. We are it. And we will either succeed in becoming God in actuality, or we will die, along with the dinosaurs and other species that have become extinct. So it's all up to us, you see. But the thought that it's all up to us, and the thought that we must use research and development, the empirical method, science and technology, to perfectly manipulate our environment to our advantage, in connection with the environment in which we are based and other creatures that we are dependent on. It is on this basis that this is the gnosis which we were given by the supernatural beings that came before us. And that's very, very important because it's something that you have to hold on to. Man is God becoming. And whenever you get down about the news and about yourself and your own life situation, bear in mind that you are God, and that man is God becoming. And this is sort of, it's a comforting slogan or maxim, if you like, that you can take with you throughout your life, and that there is hope in the future, rather than the sort of pessimism which we see around us reflected in arts and music and science fiction stories and TV shows and everything like that. But we are up against it. We are on a level playing ground with everything else. And we live or die by our decisions. So we have to make the right decisions, or we will go that way of dinosaurs, and the universe won't care. You see, because the universe has done its part. The angels and the demons and God and the demiurge have done their part, and now they've gone. And now it's just up to us to do the rest, to complete the circle. And if we don't complete the circle, then the circle remains incomplete. And perhaps another species, based on silica rather than carbon, will become the dominant species of the universe and will evolve to this godlike status. So there we are. This is Gnosticism, or Gnostic Deism in a nutshell, inspired by someone's casual comment on one of my videos. And it's a slightly hostile comment as well. But, I'm glad that they made this comment, and I'm grateful to them, because it has opened up a new vista of interest, a new sort of aspect of Gnosticism which I've never really appreciated before, to this extent. Although, of course, being interested in Thelema and LaVeyanism, of course, I have come across all this, and indeed Realism, the religion of Real. Well, of course, they, instead of gods and goddesses and demons, they have extraterrestrial beings, of course, but they too have buggered off, if I might be indelicate in saying, and have left us, star-seeded to make the best of what we've got. So it's very much it's a religion or a point of view that puts responsibility on humankind and on you as an individual to make what you can of this world and the cards you're dealt with. So it does encourage great self-reliance and individuality and thinking outside the box in order literally to survive. And you're not praying to God or evoking demons to help you, because they're not going to help you. They're no longer here to help you. They've gone. They've gone off to a different dimension, or just ceased to exist, as a result of their adversarial actions. I suppose you've got two principles, and two become zero. So they don't actually exist, but the zero has a little dot in it. So two becomes zero, and then two has a little dot in it, and we are that little dot. We are the remainder that is left behind when apparently there is zero, but there wasn't quite zero. There was this little dot, and this little dot is mankind evolving into God.